here for game number 2 of a Rainbow 7 versus GAM Esports. And honestly, I don't think a lot of us were expecting Rainbow 7 to be able to take that first game. It got scrappy. Like, we cannot say that it did not get scrappy, but in the chaos, they thrived.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that did come down to Audi and Miru just working incredibly well together, getting control over that mid lane at the beginning, and then almost nearly been able to turn that into advantages. And then
yeah, I like that.
Almost
nearly.
Yeah. It was a very messy game.
It was a game of catch, and in a game of catch, you have to throw. So sometimes you get bored of it, you know, you just want to kind of end the game at that point. But yeah, look, coming into this next game, GAM got to kind of clean it up a little bit. Again, just small little mistakes that were kind of leading to huge disadvantages for them. And it kind of comes down to this early game that we talked about for Rainbow 7. It was just so good in those first few levels that they were just able to kind of control basically the first 15-20 minutes of the game.
Yeah, now we have to see exactly if they can manage to pick themselves up one game away from elimination now. GAM definitely have the pressure on them. We have to see if they can bounce back coming into game number 2 and push us to that game 3.
You see GAM going back towards that very first pick. They are very fond of that one. I will say Style did have that pop-off moment, but without all of his summoners and everything else available to him, he did struggle, unfortunately, in that last team fight to kind of have any meaningful impact. And again, I think for R7, you're very happy with how that first game went, again, especially for the first few minutes, so don't fix what's not broken.
I mean, this is a very simple, I mean,
it's identical.
We're identical, yeah. We're literally going through the back and forth here, so we have to see if it's going to continue this direction, but I think it's interesting to see that both teams were like, hey, look, this is actually fine. Like, we're happy with the way that this one went. We're not actually going to try and change too much. It was more of a case of us messing up on the execution, which definitely happened a couple of times, but now we'll have to see if they can try and clean that up, especially in the early game if you're looking at GAM.
Yeah, I mean, look, get the Cassante back in. I think Bong did exceptionally well to kind of isolate Style away from the fights and to, you know, kind of cause him to panic, which we saw multiple times. So right now, GAM are kind of saying to themselves, look, it wasn't the comp, it wasn't the champions, it was how we executed on them. So we're very happy to kind of go back towards that. And again, we're running it back right now, Dak. It is identical for the moment.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it will continue this direction. At least having the Cassante again, Bong looked very, very comfortable on it. I'm curious if we do get the Jax ban though, because at least that was a bit of an issue, I will say, in that top side. Even though you got the early gank up there that managed to kind of slow down the pace of Kiaya, as it went on into the game, this Jax was still a menace. It was getting kills onto Seo in the back line, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that taken off the board just to make things easier in that regard.
Okay, so we're seeing a slight deviation here, taking away the Renata because they're kind of maybe going for a bit of a more of a full dive composition, but R7 kind of still sticking towards their guns right now, and yeah, they're actually going to take away more carries in that top side. So they're happy with the Jax matchup, and they're just saying, look, these two are the ones that we're afraid of. The Jax, though an issue, wasn't that big of an issue.
Yeah, I think though, like, if you don't have the same start here for R7, there is that opportunity still for Kiaya to run away with that top matchup, especially when you think back to the last game, was the fact that we had the Silas from Miru that didn't go for that reset, baited the play on the top side, and managed to get that kill that kind of gave control to R7 on the top half of the map. So I don't think you can kind of fool him again, especially if you don't have the Silas. So I think we'll probably see Miru fall back towards something like the Gragas here if they want to, and I think that's maybe a good option because Miru's happy to take that. Or you can either just take your support, you already know the matchup here against the Rakan, fall back to the Viona and wait for that counter pick in the mid lane.
Yeah, you got plenty of options available to yourself there. You've built pretty much the identical comp. You will have to pick something new into that mid lane, but again, why give up your advantage of seeing exactly what GAM want to go for? And this is where I maybe want to see a little bit of a deviation. You mentioned the last game, the Lissandra or the Ahri. I kind of would prefer the Ahri in this instance because the Ahri Wukong is just so powerful at getting those good 2v2s in the mid jungle combination.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, when you've got like Viego's being able to steal away so many of these things, Lissandra just ends up working so good at being able to steal away those abilities and then chase them down with the basic abilities. But it is going to be the Lissandra again coming through for Cassie. We'll have to see if they can have a better time in the 2v2 this time around. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Miru kind of fall back towards the Gragas in this regard. You got a ton of dive, you got a ton of opportunities here. Looks like Kiaya won't go towards the Jax. He wants to try and snip his way through this Cassante instead.
Yeah, well, picking himself up, the Gwen was banned last game. The Talia. So does Rock beat Scissors? That's the question we got ourselves today.
It's not only the Scissors, it's actually the ice that it beats. I actually really like Talia into the Lissandra because Lissandra is very telegraphed with where she's going to be going. So you send in that seismic shove onto the ice claw and there's very little maneuvering room here. So I'm really liking the opportunity this Talia offers, and even just being able to control the fights when you've got the E down as well. The Unraveled Earth becomes very difficult for Rakan, Zeri, even Wukong as well to really operate in those ways.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, yes, you don't have the Silas for Miru this time around, but like you saw in the last game, they didn't necessarily need him to be kind of following up. You have the Leona, you have the Viego, and of course the Cassante, so you kind of actually benefit a lot more from having this Talia to sit back with Zayo and just put out all those rocks.
And if you can actually get control over the mid lane as well, being able to start to lean into sides is going to be so important. We'll have to see if it can actually have that big impact. Miro has played it twice in the domestic region, 1 win, 1 loss, so he'd love to add another win to that board and actually put his team into that next match against Golden Guardians, trying to deny GAM that rematch as well. This is such an important game for GAM, 1 game away from elimination.
1 game away from elimination, but R7 on the other side, that 1 game away from winning the LLA's first ever best of series at an international. Huge moment for this region that, again, not a lot of people have expectations for, but they are defying them. They are pushing themselves forward and saying, look, we are here and we are here to be counted.
We'll have to have a look and see. Game 1 was definitely a lot of back and forths. Wasn't looking so hot for either squad, to be honest, and I've seen now if they've righted the ship, calm the nerves, and see if they can steel themselves against what the opposition is going to be bringing forward.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Let's see now if anyone wants to kind of go for anything crazy, but for the moment, they're just pushing in, seeing where everyone's kind of setting themselves up. No shenanigans, as we do love to say, and wait to see where everyone kind of wants to push themselves, because right now, again, Rainbow 7, they had themselves a much better time in that early game, so see if they're able to kind of go for it one more time. But GAM, I feel like, again, they had some good moments there. They knew how to make this composition work. However, you have just pointed out to me, there is a Summoner Spellbook there onto Xin.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see, because an awful lot of the times the way this bot lane matchup is that Leona is able to chase the Rakan every time they go for the all-in. You follow with the Zenith Blade, you're able to get that CC that you want, and it makes it very difficult for the Rakan to operate. So I think in this regard, you'll have Xin trying to roam around the map, get the most out of that spellbook, and the fact you have access to things like the teleport to get back to bot lane means you can go for a lot more of these early roams and still be in time for the bot lane push, even have an access to like ignites and exhaust for some of these team fights. For example, if Oddie tries to go ham, can be a big difference maker.
We should see some fairly standard lanes from the next few minutes, but of course, if you log in with your Riot account and watch MSI on lolesports.com, you can earn some exclusive in-game content. Of course, the specific MSI emotes and icons. You can activate it right now, and it runs for the entire tournament, so get yourself free stuff. Who doesn't love free stuff?
I definitely like free stuff.
I thought you were going to say, I definitely don't. And I was just like, who the hell are you?
Look, I did 1 year of economics. Yeah. From my basis, if something is free, there is unlimited demand for it.
Yeah, but it's like what's worth the fight is always worth the prize. If it's free, is it worth it?
Well, it's free. There is no price on it, so it's just...
Well...
I will say, though...
Zero is a price.
I will say, the freeness of something only amounts to how much I can carry it easily back to my house. Otherwise, it's just more of a hindrance than anything else.
You underestimate how much I'm willing to carry it back to my house. It's on the side of the road, it's free. That's the rule of the world. But... come back into this one here. We'll see if there's any kind of free trading going in for either of these sides. And again, look, it's pretty much, not pretty much, it is the exact same bot lane. We're going to see it very difficult for Xin to make any kind of major moves there into that bot lane. It's going to be about how these bot laners, or more specifically those supports, make those moves kind of around the map. We saw such great movement coming out there from Lions to make sure this Leona had such a huge impact in that mid lane specifically.
I think it'll be a little bit more difficult this time around, though. At least when you had Miru on the side list, there was setup from Oddie, setup from Miru, setup from Lions as well. Whereas now it's kind of a case of, okay, can Oddie or Lions land the stun? And then Miru being the follow-up. Now, it's still a very potent combo, and you can still go for a lot of these skirmishes, but it will just be a little bit more difficult for them to operate, it feels like, even when you have Levi hovering around the side to make sure that he can try and keep the mid lane in check.
Both these sides recognizing the importance of this game, of course. You see Levi kind of going for a little bit of a move here into the mid lane. Miru not quite caught out just yet, but Oddie is already here, so Fatih gets himself off there. Ooh, Xin had to flash away and use the heal in that bot side, as it looks like Theo used his flash to get some feathers down.
I wasn't sure if he'd actually get the move from Oddie and Miru immediately to this bot lane to try and capitalize on the fact that he solo Zin's back on a reset as well, but looks like at the moment they're just happy to get these advantages in the lane and see if you can get that early reset for themselves. The fact you're starting off with Cull as well and you're already getting double summoner spells out of Zin is a big win for the R7 side, and something we saw in the last game as well.
It's slow and steady. R7 having a little bit of the better time for the moment as they just keep the pressure down in this bot lane. And look, call a spade for GAM. They're very.
Call it a shovel.
You call it a shovel? What are you, American? You've left Ireland for too long. I have to bring you back and reculture you. But again, last game was very much kind of like almost a little bit of a, for GAM, it was a bit of a throw. They should have had control after that mid lane fight, and they just unfortunately let it all go to waste. So for me, I want to see them be a little bit more calm and collected, not see style panic and kind of bring himself a million miles away. But again, it's hard. You're on an international stage. You know that if you lose this best of, you're out, you're going home. And the VCS will have to wait until Worlds until they get another opportunity to improve or impress on the international stage.
Especially when they missed out on international opportunities for so long. It's kind of been a long time waiting for the VCS to come back. Obviously, they made it to a couple of the last internationals, but it's the big threat was always the VCS. They were the ones that would cause upsets. They were the ones that would bring you into the chaos. But fortunately for GAM, the chaos has kind of fought back here, and it was the LLA who were able to come out on top in that last game. I have to see if they bring it back this one and have that rematch against Golden Guardians. It didn't really feel like we got to see much of GAM in that match against Golden Guardians, and even now, it's still not looking like we're getting to see exactly why these were so threatening in the VCS.
And I love this little movement we're seeing here from Levi. He's kind of constantly putting himself in towards that mid lane, because if they've learned anything from R7 in that game one, GAM recognized, look, there's a lot of pressure being put in from the support and jungle on the side of mid lane. So for R7, they're still going with the same plan, but this time it's being equaled a little bit better by GAM.
By Zin in particular as well, actually moving up here to try and match that. And Levi, you even saw the desk talking about it. Oh, hang on.
Nice flick back there. It's a 3v3 for the moment, but Miru just kind of showing a little bit of force as Kati tried to get the Ring of Frost, but you can see he was a little bit hesitant to fully commit to that one there, because if he goes overextended, he's probably dead.
Yeah, might have been able to get him with the ultimate, but I think then he leaves himself very vulnerable for Lions and Audi as they come in, even push him bot, and is in.
You've seen this before. You know how this horror movie goes. Oh, he walks back forward, but he should be able to get himself over the wall, and that's not going to be a bad one there. But that was scary for a moment there.
Yeah, he looked at the stairs out of the basement and went, no, and just closed the door. Good call there from Zin, managing to escape away from that one. And now, though, you're still getting that push. That'll come through in the mid, in the bot. So R7 will take that advantage to start up the Dragon and again continue what has been a lot of their core identity in this series of controlling these Drakes.
Yeah, again, really good start there from the LLA representative, and they're going to be able to maybe get this one here. Levi could get himself over the wall. It's risky. But can he go for it? Style goes in. They're all committing to it, but they will get the Dragon, but can they get the fight afterwards? That is the question. Zin seeing if he can maybe look for a bit of a fight. Kati already taking so much damage as those rocks start to smash into that ice, chipping away at its integrity, but they can get Kati out. That will be the big thing here. Flash in, burst blood. They lose the Dragon, but they gain a kill.
They managed to get the kill. Maybe this can actually lean them in over towards the Rift Tower as well, which is in 30 seconds. They need to try and get a reset off. Very low health bar, so probably not going to be the case, but at least they get something back from what was a nice deal by GAM.
Very, very nicely done. And again, it kind of stops that pressure coming in from GAM, which we saw in game number one, where R7 were going to go for something. But we'll see a full engage down to Style, who has the cleanse very late on it. The heal comes in as well. Audi kind of roaming around, knows there's no summoners here on this Zeri. And they're going to try and see if they can get him out. Ooh, the stun was so close. Not quite able to get him down, and that is just Summoner's Burn. So again, small mistakes from GAM, but this time they get away with it a little bit.
Nice job by Zin to put pressure onto Audi, make sure that he couldn't actually move in to get the stun. Now R7 though, they do still have control of the spot side. They should be able to get some turret play for themselves. Miru moving back into the mid lane as well. I think your best bet now is to try and rotate this pressure in towards the Rift Tower, but we see it here. I mean, just looking, I wasn't sure if we'd actually had Zin swap over to the smite, but he hadn't. It was just Levi versus Audi, and right as it gets below, 73 HP, the bonk, managing to steal it away. And then this was a really weird commitment. I assumed they'd go for the people that were in the pit, but instead they end up committing on to Kati, who doesn't have the flash after Lions follows them through, and they're just about able to chase him down with the flash coming through from Adi, and also the wall to make sure there was very little room for the Lissandra to escape.
Well, good from GAM to make sure they have mitigated losses after stealing away that Dragon. Does mean that they're happy as Larry about that. And of course, if the first Dragon was a Chem Drake, so we won't have a Chem Soul. So there's probably a very high likelihood that this Dragon's going to be pretty high value, as we saw with the Hex Drake in game number one. But R7 Definitely feeling like they're kind of, you know, falling back into their comfort of that early game we saw in game number 1. They're very happy to kind of take these rotations and they feel comfortable to go for these fights.
Yeah, they need to get control over the mid lane at the moment. The fact that Audi isn't really here with Lions is making it a bit tough. So again, we were talking about, hey, you get the quicker reset, shove out bot, move Sayo up towards the top side, but because R7 failed to do that, GAM are now in a position where they're the ones that get to rotate. They have control of the river, and it's R7 that are late to the party.
And they're a little bit late, and you can see there, Sayo is moving up now. Style is on the bot side. Audi thinking about maybe going for something. Yeah, it looks like they're just a little bit too late on that. You've got the roam down from Kiaya. They're going to be able to secure this. I say that. Ooh, he just about gets it, but can they secure the eye afterwards? Yes, they can. Levi looking to try and burn this one out at the end of this. Bong goes in and gets himself taken very low and taken out. They will get a kill off the back of it, so it's a 1-for-1 trade for the moment. Sayo is here. Style nowhere to be seen. Everyone's running away, but nobody else is going to die. It's a 1-for-1 trade. But again, the objective goes to GAM.
And the bot lane. That was the 5 people from R7 that had roamed up, but they were late to the party. Sayo isn't there for the initial play, and now GAM get the Rift Herald, the trade on kills, and the extra goal to the bot side. So GAM winning out big on that play.
This is much better from GAM now in game number 2 compared to game number 1. In game number 1, we saw them losing a lot out of this, but again, it's just kind of easy for them to kind of get away because Bong just kind of goes a bit too far forward.
But it's just late plays here. So yes, Bong goes too far forward, but it's a nice idea to bring Levi back in, but immediately GAM turn onto him. You've got a bunch of AoE damage that's ripping through them, and a lot of that damage as well invested onto the Wukong, so when Sayo ends up coming up, there's no real follow-up that can come through, and R7 ended up falling behind. And now GAM trying to put in position here to get vision on River so they can use this Rift Herald, especially as the Dragon in a minute's time. Look to push mid with that and then lean into that next objective.
Better start here, but say Miru 0-0-2 has got himself about a 20 or so CS lead. Should be equaled out or a little bit more, as I say, once this wave gets collected. But very much more even game here from GAM compared to the early game of game number 1. They've obviously learned a lot about a couple of their mistakes there. The call will be finished up here by both these bot laners, and this is when we start to see the first item completions come in. So that next Dragon in 45 seconds, I don't know if we'll see a huge fight over it, but I mean, R7 have shown us in this series, they're ready to go.
Yeah, it's just if GAM can actually try and rotate correctly around this Rift Herald, because you see they have push in bot side and actually might catch Audi as a result.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to have to ult out of there. He had already used his mist, and that means he's going to have to give up that scuttle as well. So losing that cooldown means that R7 might not be as comfortable going for a big ult engage.
Yeah, I mean, you really need to try and push in bot side here, start to establish vision for GAM in R7's jungle, and then you can lean back into it. But they're kind of skipping a pace here where Levi isn't really helping Caddy push in mid, isn't helping bot lane push either. So R7 are just bullying this lanes each time. Now Lions might be caught out, but you can see it's kind of a late rotation here, and GAM will just about be able to clear the vision now, but they needed to establish this a little bit sooner, so R7 don't feel comfortable contesting them on the pushes.
Yeah, I mean, Sayo's just feeding on this bot lane himself. He's no issues with that whatsoever. He's also got the Gale Force available to him. Both TPs are up for the top laners of both these teams. Audi hasn't really got the vision for the moment, but they know they're not on the Dragon just yet, so they gotta feel like they're in these bushes somewhere.
Yeah, Bong has TP to try and get down if he wants, can go to the tower, even looking for the reset here. Looks like they'll bring the Cassante in. Gwen has already made her way down.
Oh, they're going to try and cut them off here as Kati goes in, trying to see if he can catch on to Sayo, but has to use the ultimate on himself. Those root was huge. Stop Levi from going in, and Zin is already so close to death. He will, however, get himself out, and now the Gwen has joined the fight. You can see Style and Sayo kind of going in for a little bit of an 80 carry 1v1. See if he can go for it. Nice flash from Sayo means he gets the kill. And now the rest of R7 feel comfortable to keep pushing forward, keep looking for the damage and the DPS. Ooh, nice little movement there from Kati to bait them all out to the wrong direction. But Dragon should be going to R7.
And Levi, yes, he throws down the Rift Herald in mid lane, but it's kind of a bit of a consolation prize. The fight on the Dragon going the way of R7. Again, these team fights, GAM just can't get their footing in them, and it's so separated.
So separated. The fight goes in favor of R7. The Dragon as well is an infernal rift. And now Dragon a piece. Let's have a look exactly how this one goes.
Yeah, so you end up getting the opportunity here for, as we just in the picture-in-picture, might see someone go down.
Yeah, we're going to see him now live, as we can see Levi looking for that kill on top of Miru. And the bonk down. You were not supposed to still be here, Miru.
Nope, we'll end up paying for it. And so now you end up in a situation where, again, R7 have a slight gold lead. They want to try and make the play on bot side in response. Caddy might be cut out.
Yeah, he does have flash available to him. He's going to use it straight away. The Xenoblade is just a little bit wide, as is the root. And Caddy just with the blue suede shoes showing off those dance moves.
Yeah, Caddy has 9 lives apparently, because he should not have got out of that one. Now though, as you look towards top, GAM still in a position where Kiaya fine in the top side. They were considering Xin going up to the top lane and trying to get the play on towards Bong, but not going to be the case. It's a lot of these teams are just trying to very quickly move around the map, but haven't quite set up the wave stage to make the play happen beforehand. So now you got Xin, who's trying to do something. I'm not entirely sure.
Might be getting caught there. Does have the battle dance as well, should he have been in any real immediate danger. But yeah, definitely a bit of a strange one there. But as you can see now, very even in terms of the split there. You can see mid lane and bot lane has been very good for the side of R7, but on the opposite side of that, it's only a couple of hundred each way. So it's again, very, very close. Actually, I look at the gold, it's dead even.
I want to try and figure out exactly what the game plan here is for R7, because it feels like they're unsure now that they have the tempo advantage what they should be doing with it. And ideally what you want to be trying to look for is if you actually can try and get control over this mid lane. So if you have push for Zai in the mid lane, you can then start to lean this vision control up into the top side here and try and set up all your vision. So then there's no real way for anyone to enter into that top side and you're looking at the Rift Tower as your next big advantage. You can even lean pressure in towards the Gwen in the top side, but it feels like they're not confident enough to have Lions and Oddie commit to that mid lane push. You can even see where Oddie's committed on the map at the moment. It feels like Miru's much more vocal in the map and trying to draw him down to this bot side, which I actually think is a pretty big mistake. You have a lot of wave clear on GAM. You have a lot of opportunities for Kiai as well if he can get control of the map to become a split push threat. So trying to deny this Rift Tower should be the priority for R7, but it's not really happening. And you can see GAM are actually setting up now. Get push in mid with Levi in the vicinity and move over towards the Rift Herald.
Feeling a little bit more comfortable after the first 15 minutes of this game number 2. But R7, bringing myself back to the LPL, but R7 definitely feeling like they can go for fights now. They have the Gale Force, and they have the Leandri's Anguish onto Talia, so they don't want to give away this one over, but they're late, like you mentioned, to kind of to kind of set themselves up for this. They're looking for an engage. Xenoblade does land. It's onto Xin though. There's a secure on the Rift Herald. Now, do you want to go for the fight? It looks like GAM do. They get the quickness down onto multiple members, and it's going to be Leons who goes down straight away. They're trying to go for some fancy feet there from Seo. He gets exhausted, so he's not putting down as much damage as he would like. Doesn't quite get away, and he gets shut down. It's all just a little bit scrappy, and R7, like you said, very hesitant to get punished.
And for R7, the problem is that they don't have a front line if they don't have Bong there. No one really wants to be the engage tool apart from the Leona, and she's not really getting the opportunity to set herself up correctly in these fights. Seo has been left on his lonesome. Miru has had to reposition. Oddie isn't getting people low to start this reset that Viego loves, and GAM finding that opportunity to put R7 back in their place.
Bong not being there, just really, you can see just how quickly Lions just kind of drops in these fights. He's just not really able to kind of survive as long as he would probably like to, but again, good Rift Herald, good fight, and a little bit of an advantage now for the side of GAM. It's all about what they use it though, or how they use it. It's going to be important in the next few minutes.
Yeah, and this is again where I want to see if they can actually start to crack open these side lane turrets, because buying that space for Gwen is really important. But you can see how deep Lions ends up going in this, and it almost ends up drawing like a line of skirmish here where you can't really push forward to actually get access on towards Stahl in the back line. And you can see on the flip side, Seo's in a much better position this whole time. He's in a much worse position this whole time for GAM, who can easily get access to the AD carry because R7 have to split up as everyone's trying to run away.
Very delighted fans in the crowd here at the Copper Box. It's not over just yet. Again, they're still one game down. R7 have afforded themselves a couple of mistakes should they lose this game, as it is a best of 3. We'll see the Rift Herald being spawned. Should go towards mid lane there, so they're obviously looking to try and go for something here, but Dragon spawning in 20 seconds, and this could be a decent kind of setup. We're actually seeing these two mid laners now go for a bit of a fight, but Miru's kind of coming out on top of the poke war.
It would have been a lot better if he threw that either direction, but
he was trying to catch the glacial path. That's what he was trying to do.
Can't be everything, but here we go. Gets the Rift Herald charge in the mid lane. Should be cleared up here, and again, you can't really pressure any further here as GAM because Stahl doesn't win the mid push against the Zaya, so I don't like to see on the side, and Caddy's stuck.
He's stuck, he flashes away, there's going to be a Xenoblade landing on top of him, which means he has to use a stopwatch. Both TPs going to be coming in at the exact same time. The quickness from Xin, but you're rolling straight into a choke point. Can you get the Cyclone down? Seo flashes and Gale forces right out. They get Leon, and they are going to back themselves away. Can they look to try and re-engage this one? Oddie's very healthy, he's got flash, he's got ult, but they would need resets.
Again, R7 taking fights in positions that aren't great for them though. They're given multiple different angles that R7 and Bong specifically has to try and be in the front line for, whereas for GAM, they're perfectly happy to have these more spread out skirmish fights because they have multiple people who can play the tank role, whether it's Cassie with the invulnerability, Levi, even Kiaya with his own invulnerability. So the way these fights are playing, Bong just can't keep everyone safe, and GAM are finding access to some of the key carries in the back line.
It's another Dragon now going over to GAM. Got themselves about a 2,000 gold lead as well, and you can see that just kind of the momentum compared to game number 1. It's just very much GAM kind of, finding themselves at the position first, and R7 just not really positioned to kind of contest it like you mentioned. We will see the knockback. Kati is pretty damn healthy, I will say. We'll get all in. Bong with another solo kill, this time on the mid laner.
That ain't looking healthy anymore. Bong doing a fantastic job there, interrupting the glacial path with the all-out to make sure that there was no way for the Lysandra to escape. And now R7 trying to respond as they start to push in towards mid. I'm surprised that they're leaving Seo to not try and push in this mid lane. I think he could have had a good amount of numbers advantage because you can already see the Levi's in the bottom lane. But they want to give him red and then maybe look for a play up towards this top side, try and see if they can get onto Kiaya.
They're looking a bit deeper than probably would have. RD just taking away a bit of a blue buff as well. We'll know that the mist and the immunity is no longer available for Kiaya, so maybe they look for a bit of a gank pretty damn soon. They've got Leona coming in as well, but yeah, with the wave not really in position, they did burn the ults. The needlework is down, but they don't feel super comfortable going for it.
But because of that, they lose mid lane. So Seo wanted to move over towards the red, doesn't manage to pick up the red. R7 then steal away the blue, but they lose their mid lane Terra. Now Miru will be able to respond with this top lane Terra because Kiaya is aware, hang on, there's a lot of members of R7 missing. Maybe I'm in trouble, but this is messy stuff from R7 when technically they're the ones that had that push in the first place and could have made the plays, but GAM are just responding much better around the map.
And it does feel like a little bit of a hesitation here from R7. Like you said, like it's kind of like they get the opportunity, they have the tempo, but they're just not really sure what to do with it. They don't want to make the better, or they want to make the better of 2 plays, and then at the end of it, indecision is a decision upon itself.
And you can see that they have at least Miru's been using the right ideas, right? Trying to match this Talia up against the Gwen makes it very difficult for the Gwen to really push out these waves. So you almost guarantee then that this Talia can operate around the map, or you can look for dives. As we said already, like the Xayah wins mid push, so that opens up the opportunity for Lions to roam, but they just haven't found the moments to sync up waves so they can actually use those on side lanes. And now Bong might be in trouble, as you can see Levi considered hovering around there, but actually going to back away. I think a lot of the hesitation we're seeing on both sides is just a lack of vision. Like if you actually look on the screen, there is not a huge amount that is really there for either of these squads. You've got like little ones that are kind of sitting in these areas here at chokes and stuff, but like a lot of this vision isn't really doing anything. Even when you look at like trying to spot the enemy in the jungle or in river, it's almost completely dark. Thank you, observers. You can see there's not a huge amount of vision past your own line of skirmish.
Yeah, it's kind of going in a little bit blind, just trying to see if you can find out something from that, and it's not really the best of opportunities. That's not how you're going to be able to kind of find those windows to catch someone out on a slow rotation, on a lazy rotation as well. You want to try and catch them in those little corridors. And the Infernal Rift does help out a lot with that. You just need to establish the vision.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that usually when it's the Infernal Rift, it's easier to get in and out because you've got more opportunities to sneak away, but it's not really the case. And GAM, again, getting this kind of shallow vision that's pretty quickly cleared out. Like, there's nothing that's actually been established that really gives you the information as to where anyone's moving. So it's just this pushing back and forth until we get the Dragon in a minute and a half's time, where it feels like, again, we just get these two teams clash. And with the way they've been going so far, it feels like GAM are going to be taking the win in this one.
Lions would love to have his Mythic before that fight, but we'll have to wait and see. For the moment, it is just 2 items for the AD carries. Actually, Shadow Flame just gets picked up there by Kiaya. Everyone just kind of making themselves a little bit more known, that they can just kind of, again, similar to game number 1, just ping-ponging the waves, seeing who can kind of get all those, the arms race, if you will, to see who can get what just before the next fight.
But that's the thing, is like the arms race has kind of been a little bit more like a 3-legged race, to be honest, because we aren't really on the same page. Because when you look at the resets that are coming through, you've now just got the reset coming through from Lions, and also they're coming through from Bong, but from Miru and Bong and Audi, but they're a little bit late in comparison to Lions. So Seo can't really push this wave the full way up to actually start to move in off of their mid lane pressure to get vision in the river, because he doesn't have the rest of his team, so he has to reset every time. Now R7 grouping up as a 5-man unit to attempt to establish vision, but it's very late into when this Dragon's going to be spawning now.
Yeah, it really is. The guy has been spotted out. Should be fine to just decoy himself out of there should he be caught out, but TP already being invested here by Kati as he puts himself here. Ooh, that could have been a catch there on the Kiaya. Would have been relatively okay, I would imagine, given how Gwen is able to kind of survive these things, but plenty of pressure now available for R7. They're even pushing down that bot side. Dragon yet to spawn, so they're going to need to pick up a tower regardless of everything else.
GAM have absolutely no vision on where Miru is, though, and he could be looking to come in on the flank here,
Looking for something. They will catch a decoy of Mira, but Zin's already used his quickness. He hasn't got that available for this next fight. That's a huge cooldown no longer available.
Adi trying to see if he can get onto Cassie. Again, though, this is where R7 need to be careful. They don't want to spread across multiple fronts, because if Mira gets stuck like that...
I mean, if he gets stuck, they're going to put down the damage. He has to use the Sonya so early. Bong trying to see if he can survive. Got so much healing there from the shielding as well. Will not see him go down just yet, though, and there's plenty of damage putting in. You will get the Weaver as well to try and separate this one out. And now Seo looking to see if he can do a nice flash to catch out everybody else, and they will get style. Now, Zin, nowhere trying to go. He will be executed by the Heartbreaker. And what looks so bad for the side of R7 looks like it'll be going better. That being said, though, the jungler and the top laner of GAM refuse to die. They refuse to let this one go. A rocket to the back of the head as Rock beats Scissors. And now you can see with Audi having a little bit more health, a little bit more damage, you can see Levi just trying to bait him out with the decoy. Finally, they see where he is. They're going to look for trying to jump on the Miru. Will he be able to get the damage down? They're just kiting him back. He's got the spell shield to come in. They got the ult as well. They get the kills and GAM stay alive.
These team fights are absolutely absurd. The fact that Levi has the confidence to stick in the pit, but Kati doesn't want to take that put. Stick in the pit for so long, baiting the clone, pretending it's him, and then whacking him on the way out. It was fantastic.
And the great thing is about this, Dagda, is the dragon wasn't taken. We got to do that again.
You don't have a jungler for on the side of R7. You don't have Kiai. At least he'll have the TP to get back into it, but I would maybe give us a moment here before we get back to this one. Actually, Stahl going to start it up, but you've no push in mid lane for R7, so it looks like this will be the third dragon going over to GAM, with Caddy and Levi making that hero play.
Just the extra residual vision control for GAM, able to kind of keep them safety there. They will secure themselves the soul point and get them one dragon away from that Infernal Soul. Lines very much does not want to recall there, and now we kind of look at this replay because this is so chaotic.
Yeah, but here's the thing, as we start to get into this fight, keep your eyes on Kiaya. So yes, Mira gets to play on the top side, but because Bong gets taken incredibly low, Kiaya actually gets access towards Seo on this. Watch, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shots coming through on the ultimate, all hitting onto the AD carry, and that's great until Styles way overextends trying to kill Seo, which then gives the opportunity for Bong and Mira to deal with him, and this is where it starts to go bad on the bottom side of the fight. But after this, then it's where GAM starts to turn around because Seo can't really get in. Miro has to be incredibly careful. The fact that you managed to get that shroud down as well for Kia and the flash away from the knockback means that he's able to stay alive for so long, and eventually Caddy kind of just playing off the wings, waiting to see what he can pick up as this fight starts to continue. And Levi, like, they have a ward. They know that's Levi, but here we go. We're
going to go for another fight here. It's going to be the solo laners teaming up here in a 2v2. Actually, no, they stopped the TP, so it's a 2v1. They are able to stop the TP, and now they're going to be a 4v3, but they can TP back. They know they can save out this fight because it's going to be a 4v4. Immediately, Miro goes golden because he wants to just delay for time. There's a Cyclone in as Miro tries to keep himself alive, but he will go down. But before he does, he gets the knockback. A good exhaust from the Seo means that he's not putting out the real damage. The Zenith Blade misses, and now Seo's in so much trouble. Flash in, the feather's back, doesn't get the damage down. Nakati who goes golden, and now Seo, he's running for his life.
He needs to try and get some feathers down, get the autos, but they're coming in on top of him.
They're going for him, but Seo is massive. He will finally be taken down, but he's taking as many with him.
And Bong is still getting the push in the mid lane. They need to now reset his GAM. They're too low. Audi and Bong will be able to get this mid lane tower. As a result, GAM managed to again find the fight, and a lot of it was Miro just TPing in the middle of them.
Literally, TP Zonya's, it was its 5-head play, but my God, this game is getting absolutely ridiculous right now, and it is coming down to just individual outplays.
It's so nuts. The fact that again, so as we start to come into this, TP coming through, Lions gives his life to stop this TP to make sure they can make a play on the bot side, which gives a chance for Mir to TP into this. But honestly, I'm not a fan of where Mir TPs to. He can actually go in behind here, so he's actually in a better spot. The ultimate there from Lions as well to try and keep the Lissandra from all inning. But now Miro's in dire spots, which means again Lions has to go in. And yes, Seo is getting a good amount of these feathers down, but again, every single time we've seen in this series, he wants to go for these big feather pulls, and Exhaust is hitting him. Style is then stepping forward, and this is just an overcommit coming through from GAM. You can actually go for the Baron at this stage, like take your win and go, but because they end up splitting up, trying to chase Seo all over the place, he's again getting more feathers down, and just able to clip the supporting mid laner with those feathers means he gets the double kill.
Yeah, good smiles there from the R7 team, but we're right back into the action. There is no time to breathe. We got ourselves all the ultimates back, and a flash for a flash there as Zin is not able to get on top of Seo. They're putting in all the damage, but there's going to be a Weaver's Wall to separate everybody out. The Talia says, stop the violence. We need to just calm down and farm our waves.
Yeah, actually catches the bird as well out of the wall, but will end up dropping it. But again, that's a big ultimate down on R7's side, whereas didn't really use a huge amount coming in. Zin, apart from that flash, trying to be committed to make the play, but they will be able to move back in up towards this top side again, push mid and establish vision. Maybe look to try and start up this Baron, but a minute and a half until Seoul. It's a case of GAM continuing to put this pressure on towards the top side before they start to look for the resets and re-establish that vision on bot lane.
Yeah, Style, I don't think you want to risk your life for that pink ward. I know it's really tempting, but you do not want to risk it. But as the back says, "Way getting dagged, we're back to basically an even game. It's just those dragons."
But the big news here is 3 items now for Style. He's going to be in a really good spot coming into this fight. Caddy as well has the Zonya's Hourglass now completed, so he's much more of a threat when he starts to go into these. On the opposite side, though, look at how strong Bong is. That is so much resistances that he has. So Style, the fact that he doesn't have the earlier setup of the Lord Dominic's regard means that he's not going to be able to get through Bong. But if this team fight starts to go into these spread out skirmishes like we've seen so often, he can get access to backline. That's where he'll be a major threat.
We have an elixir of iron as well in the back pocket of Bong, so he knows that this next fight at this dragon in 45 seconds could mean everything. Plenty of damage on this Talia as well, not to be underestimated, but we are starting to really see what these champions can do when given a full kit.
Miru going to be an absolute monster if he can find a lot of that damage off. Again, the ultimate just going to be back up in 8 seconds time. Zin very separated from the team, trying to see if he can find a flank, but R7 would just start to move back down into this riverside. So Zin, a little bit of a misstep moving up towards the top side, would have preferred to come in from the bot lane.
All right, 13 seconds till Dragon spawns. Everyone trying to gain control over this mid wave. We will see an engage coming in straight away as Miru kind of gets caught out. It looks like they're going to be bursted down. They get them down there. Style is just putting in work on the backside, and GAM found themselves an opportunity. Style now looking back for that 1v1. Kati, though, moves back in onto the AD carry and says it is no longer a 1v1, and Seo is left all on his lone.
Yeah, it's going to be looking to see if Zin can get in on top of him. Feather's pull is not enough. Zin
needs to be careful. Seo will have a blast cone to use, but I mean, GAM could run up this mid lane. They could end the game.
That's what they need to do. Forget about the kill. Just go for the base. Make sure you can actually get it, because Kati!
Oh, Kati will die, which means the game will not end. They will get themselves an Infernal Soul, and I think Seo has kept the game alive for Rainbow.
I mean, you got to be careful. Kiaya is still going to push in, wants to try and go for the base. I don't think Seo can really go against the ultimate that is available for Kaya as well. So GAM will get the dragon, they will get the soul, and they will get the fight. And it looks like they might be able to get game 2 as well.
Doing very well. They've done some big pushes forward, but Baron is still available. Respawns are coming in. Plenty of teleports as well for the side of R7. But let's have a look at this one here, because again, it's Levi looking for the engage and getting it.
Yeah, but the fact is they spot Audi off on the side, so he's like, cool, we can just go for this. A lot of the threats are not onto Steel, but oh, hang on, we're on to Baron.
Live. No more replays in this game, because it's all action all the time. They're trying to burn this one down as quick as they possibly can. The mist has already gone down from Kiaya, as now the Baron down to 4,000 HP, 3,000 HP. They're looking to try and secure this one. It's a 50-50. They got the quickness in the back of the pit. Everybody's jumping in. It's secured by GAM, and then the fight is all theirs. They will not be losing this series in this game, and they want to send us to 3.
Wukong's portrait popping up, because that was a photograph finish on the end of that Baron. R7 scatter to the winds as GAM will take their prize to the top lane and look to take the Nexus as well.
The VCS in London, they want their voices heard. They want to know that their team, they are behind them 100% of the way. And GAM Esports will equal up this series, and we are going to another one. Rainbow 7 tried their absolute hardest, but just better team play from GAM in this game number 2 means they secure themselves at least one more shot.
Better fight setup for GAM, better execution this time around. They nearly run with the salty run back, but there are no tears for GAM in this one.
We go to game 3. My second one, the second one of this tournament as well. And again, it's just the value of that kind of game, the momentum in that game 2 that you can gain. You now go into it with a completely fresh slate, knowing that yes, your competition in game 1, yes, you lost with it, but it was fine. And that gives more for R7 to think about than it does for GAM.
Yeah, and I think a large portion of this was kind of correctly identifying who was stepping up on GAM, right? Kiaya was massive on the jacks, fantastic. Let's give him something that can be a little bit better in those team fights. Every single fight we look towards the Gwen, because every single time she was hitting multiple people, the fight setup was perfect for her to get those the ultimate just across everyone in these fights. As well, looking towards Zin. A couple of these Rakan engages key alongside Levi as well, who on the Wukong I think he was 9-1, 10-1 by the end of
Lot of
last
kills,
like
lot of kills.
massive on the Wukong, and that's the carry performance you expect from Levi. Like, he was hyped coming into the tournament. Like, used to be on 100 Thieves where he was kind of playing more of those tanks and that kind of style, but this is the carry style that he's comfortable on, and finally we're getting to see it at MSI.
Great punch back there from GAM, but again for R7, there were some moments where they almost felt like they were coming back into it. It did feel like they had those opportunities. Seo was keeping his team single-handedly alive with those feather pulls. But again, small little differences. You mentioned it a couple of times as well. The exhausts were so critical, and that spellbook on that Rakan being key.
And I think a large portion of that is, again, the fact that we see early success for 7, unsure how to play at the map state. They don't really know how to use like the pushing wave to then establish vision where they need to, so they can look for dives or look for towers. And GAM are like, cool, we're happy to just wait for those late game team fights because that's where we're strongest.
Yeah, well, don't go anywhere. We'll send it to a break. But we got one more game in this series, and we'll see you soon.